What's going on? I am Tim. I think. Maybe. If I'm not. Well, if I'm not, maybe I should pay some bills for Tim because that'd be a nice one. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? I'm done being silly. I have a stack of CDs. Yes, that same pile that has been living in my living room for far too long before the wife stabs me all over. I'm gonna show some more and hopefully get them out of there. So you'll pardon me if I shuffle because I'm just kind of looking around and seeing, see some things that are up high. I'm going to move down low. We're going to kind of wing it. So a little bit of everything in this one, so bear with me. Chances are, if you like me, you will see something in here that you also like. We're going to start with us three. So what's interesting about us three is that this is kind of a group that was kind of made, if you will. So us three was just a collection of musicians, a couple rappers, a DJ, producer, that were formed on the Blue Note label. Their big hit was Cantaloupe, Flip Fantasia. It was a big monster hit in the 90s. But what was interesting about this album was that they were really paying homage to one of the first, I believe it was the first, head of Blue Note, Alfred Lyon. And he had a long pedigree of putting a lot of different people on wax with the Blue Note label. And every sample that they used on this album comes from artists that were on the Blue Note label because of Alfred Lyon. So I thought that was a really interesting fact. Makes the album a little bit more enjoyable. It's an okay album. Those of you who know I'm a hip hop guy, it's not going to set the hip hop world on fire, but it's an enjoyable listen. Definitely has a very strong jazz influence, obviously because of the label. If you're looking for more of a traditional jazz fusion with hip hop, I do suggest the Jazzmatazz series with Guru, who was in Gangstar. But this is still a great one. Ice-T Home Invasion. Wow, look at that glare. Ice-T Home Invasion. This was as he was going a little bit more independent with his music. He was on Warner Brothers. I don't know if he was dropped from the label or decided to kind of pursue a different avenue. A little bit more hardcore. I think it was around the same time Body Count was out, so there was a lot of heat in Ice-T camp, so to speak. So, but I've always enjoyed his stuff. Eric Clapton, August, great album. It's in the way that you use it. Obviously, the big monster on this one, but just anytime I see Clapton, I'm going to grab it, especially if it's an affordable price. And I don't think I paid more than, other than the ones I'll show towards the end. I don't think I paid more than $2 a disc. So, those are prices I'm willing to play. 52nd Street from Billy Joel. I don't think we really need to talk about this. This is just chock full of some of his greatest songs. Big Shot, My Life, Honestly, Stiletto, Zanzibar, just Rosalita's Eyes. Fantastic album. So willing to have that one on multiple formats. The Prince hits too. I see Prince, I buy Prince, I love Prince. And in case you don't know, there's a new Prince album coming out in September. Pre-orders are already on Amazon. I've already pre-ordered mine. I think the LP is going to be $17.99 approximately. It's a 1983 Man and His Piano. So the tour he was on when he unfortunately passed, he had done something like that before in the 80s. Not surprising. I mean, the guy could play 7,000 instruments at the same time while baking a cherry pie and looking fly. But anyway, so this album's coming out in September. It's going to be a big medley of things he's playing just with himself, playing by himself on a piano and singing. Language. Mike and the Mechanics. So obviously another offshoot of the mighty Genesis camp. Mike Rutherford did his side project, Mike and the Mechanics. Obviously the big hit, The Living Years. I really enjoyed Mike and Mechanics. I know that they were considered a little bit more pop oriented, but to me that's okay because I really enjoyed them. Holy diver! I need Dio and vinyl. I have a 12-inch, so if you have Dio and on vinyl, and you no longer want Dio on vinyl, please contact me, and my representatives will be glad to help you with that problem. Love Dio. I mean, to be perfectly honest, probably top three metal singers for me all time. I mean, him, Halford, and Dickinson. There's my three right there. So, never will say that I've heard of Dio's song and going, you know, he just didn't sound good. Bull. He had pipes. So, unpopular opinion number one. When it comes to singing, I will admit I'm not a big fan of this guy. But he's a hell of a front man, and there's a difference. You don't have to be a great singer to be a great front man. And honestly, as good of a front man as David Lee Roth was with Van Halen, I think this guy might have been a little better. Red, White, and Crew. So this is just a fantastic set, best of. Throw in the car. You're never going to get bored. They really kind of span the globe of their career. As far as for full albums, I'll be honest with you, I probably check out after Dr. Feelgood. Just wasn't my sound anymore with them, and that's okay. I know a lot of people do. And I will also admit that their debut album is kind of a hard listen for me. Musically, sonically, it's on point, but Vince Neil's vocals are very nasal for me, and that bothers me. He had a couple of missteps afterwards. I think that, and again, maybe unpopular opinion, but it's mine, so I'll own it. I think Theater of Pain was probably one of their weaker albums, but every song on here is a monster. I mean, you've got Live Wire, you got Piece of Your Action, you've got Looks That Kill, you've got Too Young to Fall in Love. That was just, and see, and there's a sign that there's on the Shout the Devil album, he dialed in his vocals right. He wasn't singing through his nose. He also found his lane with Girls, Girls, Girls. I thought he did a hell of a job on that album. So I'm not saying that Vince Neil had a bad voice. Don't get me wrong. He was very passable as a lead singer. I just think that there were times where he did not do the song justice. And I know that's not popular opinion. I may get an unsub or two, which is fine. I get it. That being said, great set. Digital Underground, Sons of the P. Everybody remembers Digital Underground for the big monster hit, The Humpty Dance, which was Shock G's alter ego wearing a funny nose and glasses. This was their follow-up, not commercially as successful, Sons of the P. The big song on this one was Kiss You Back, but they had more of that funk sound going for them, probably even a little bit harder, so I was glad to pick that one up. This one I'm going to take out because the cover has got stickers all over it. Maybe I won't because it's a pain in the ass. And I've yet to spin this one. It's called the Club Series, or Club Days, the studio sessions. Twisted Sister, and I'm going to try to clean all this stuff up. Looks like it was from a radio station originally. Just looks like a bunch of like possible like alternate takes and things like that. So saw that one at a yard sale, and the guy was like, CDs $1 a piece, 50 cents a piece, whatever. I'm like, whatever, indeed, I will be taking that one. Stevie Ray is another person that if I see him laying around, I'm not leaving him. This is the Greatest Hits Part 2. Obviously, I mean, talking about Stevie's greatest hits, you might as well just put on every album. He just kills everything. And in fact, speaking of Stevie Ray Vaughan, I did not pay $6.99 for this. I think I paid $2. This is the Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble live at Carnegie Hall, and just a killer set. I mean, you've got Scuttlebutton, you've got Love Struck Baby, you got Pride and Joy. Closes it out with a Rude Mood. Just Stevie, we miss you. another album that I desperately need to get on vinyl, but I was glad to pick up the CD to kind of keep me at least appeased, I guess would be the word to say. Disraeli Gears, it's the Cream Remastered series. It sounds good. I mean, here's my thing with CDs. I mean, it's not that they sound horrible. Sometimes they may sound too good. You want some of that distortion, you want some of that fuzz, you want some of that surface noise. It kind of reminds you listen to something real and tangible. And that's no exception. When you think about some of this stuff, it wasn't, CDs weren't even a thing. It was supposed to be noisy and loud, kind of like this one, the Doors debut. I do have some Doors on vinyl. I need to grab this one. Just all in all, front to back, classic. One of the best debut albums ever done. Morrissey album. This one is World Peace is None of Your Business. I actually saw this at a Target. I think it was like $3 or $4. And they were like, it's as is. I was like, it looks fine. This is just more out of morbid curiosity of the newer Morrissey stuff. He's kind of a pompous ass, but again, what are you gonna do? Couple Killers, not the biggest fan, but like I said, I saw these at $1 a piece. And you hear the songs on the radio, so I thought I'd check them out. They're okay. I mean, nothing that I would say is like gonna set the world on fire. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest Killers fan, but I don't hate them. I can think of a bunch of other bands that I'd rather not listen to than the Killers. But like I said, for $1 a piece, it was more of just morbid curiosity, so I was willing to pick that up. Hot Fuzz and Sam's Town were those two. So this one I was super stoked to see, and I was shocked that I saw it here, because it just doesn't strike me as something that would get around here in Central Florida. This is Mike Doty's Haughty Melody, and this is actually a promo, if I'm reading this right, or if I'm paying attention to it right. It looks like it was a promo with the full album, like kind of like it's called advanced copy or what have you. They even have like on their booking information, because this is when he, obviously at this point, if you're familiar with the band Soul Coughing, the band had broken up at this point, and Mike Doty went on to a somewhat successful career. He's not one that's going to get tons and tons and tons of radio play. He's more of a poet with a guitar and a singer-songwriter, but kind of from a left field approach. And I actually really do appreciate that. I'm a huge Mike Doty and Soul Coughing fan, so when I saw this, I about jumped out of my skin. So let's see. Let's do some of jazz. Ken Burns' Jazz Series of John Coltrane. This one has Round Midnight. It actually has the 13-minute version of My Favorite Things. It has it in a sentimental mood, so it's a great comp. I need Coltrane on vinyl, just need. But I will pick up Coltrane on CD all day as well. The man was just a genius, and I think we've discussed this ad nauseum. And this one I picked up for $1, and when I saw it, I couldn't believe that I actually was holding it in my hand. And this is the Jazz Remastered series of Miles Davis, A Kind of Blue. So not only, talk about getting your money's worth on this one. You're getting Miles, you're getting Coltrane, you're getting Cannonball Adderley. Just a fantastic lineup, and this one's actually been 20-bit remastered, which is great, but it also does have an additional track. It has an alternate take of Flamenco Sketches, which, if you know the history of this album, is actually kind of cool. If you're not familiar with this one, which you should be, but just in case, we don't want to take anything for granted. So Miles kind of had the ideas for the songs, called the team in, put the dream team together, and said, "Here's what we're doing. Here's the riff. Here's what we're playing. Everybody's getting a solo, and we're kind of free-forming it, kids. We're literally going to work this together." It's an improvisational album, and to have that level of talent take the idea of the song to its end result, just fantastic. So now I have this on vinyl as well, but again, everybody knows this is my guy. War Heroes. This is actually a German import, English UK. I'm sorry. So it's on Polydor discs, and this one was released in '72. CD, I think it was like in the mid '80s. I'm sure it was. But absolutely fantastic album. You've got Stepping Stone, Highway Child, which is just a fantastic song. Bleeding Heart. So just Isabella, probably one of my favorites on the album. Again, I have a sickness. As I'm scratching my arm as I'm talking about it, I really do have a sickness. I have a sickness for Jimmy. That's what it is. So, two more artists. Granted, there's a couple of them here. So, I don't have any Van Morrison on vinyl. Not that I haven't been looking, but you know, as we all know, clean copies tend to be expensive, especially if they're early pressings. So I may just have to bite the bullet. But I was glad to add these two CDs. I mean, Moondance. We actually don't need to talk about anything 70s from Van Morrison, but Moondance, hell yeah, and Tupelo Honey. I was really blown away by this album. This one just, and Van Morrison, talk about one of the just all-time greats. Just, you know, and I'm not one of these that's like, I got to be honest that I can say I can listen to everything in his catalog. I know Jeff Party is a huge Van Morrison fan, and you know, obviously knows infinitely more about his music than I do. But that 70s stuff, killer. And again, a buck a piece. Even if I had them, I'd buy them again just to have them. So this was the last of my show, at least in this video. Anthology 1, Anthology 2, and Anthology 3 from the Beatles. I would not mind picking these up on vinyl, to be perfectly honest, but they're not high on my list. Reason being is that I get it. These were created in the space of, we found the Lost Lennon song "Free as a Bird," and the Beatles reunited the surviving members to make it a Beatles song, and it just so worked. You know, the timing of it with anniversaries and things like that just kind of sparked this whole anthology idea. And I have the mini series on DVD, and you know, so obviously having these. But when you listen to some of these alternate takes and things like that, they sound good. But I just don't know how well they would translate to vinyl. So if you have these on vinyl, I would be interested to hear how they sound. Again, I'm a completist when it comes to the Beatles. I probably will pick them up if I see them at a good price. But they're not high on my need to get them list. I do want them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, not high on my Beatles list still is higher than a lot of other stuff. To put that in perspective. But I'm curious to see if anybody has these on vinyl, how they sound. So, hey, another CD pickup is in the books, and I haven't lost a lot of people. Not too bad for a vinyl channel, right? Hey, I celebrate the music. And as I'm sitting here looking at my Steven Wilson cover going, what? How'd that get in there? Probably because it's in my CD changer right now. That thing does not leave. It just doesn't. I need to pick it up on vinyl, but the CD does me good for now. You know what? And I'll show it in case you're not familiar with it. But yeah, I've shown this before. This is just a monster of an album. This has worked its way into my top 25 at least. And thanks to Andy, this is Steve Wilson's Raven Refused to Sing. If you're a fan of prog, Porcupine Tree, check them out. It's just fantastic stuff. So I was actually listening to that yesterday. So because that's what I do, because I love that damn album. So anyway, everybody, take care of yourselves, and hopefully everybody's having a good day. So we'll talk soon. Peace.